the spiritual fruits. For many people today living in a secular society, we begin to meditate at a very self-centered level. Our motivation is, what am I going to get out of this? Is it my better cholesterol, better blood pressure, help me to come off my pills for depression, help me with my sleep at night? And that is how many people will start, for the benefits that meditation scientifically are proven to give. And I don't think that is wrong. In the Christian tradition, we say that grace builds on nature. In other words, our bodies and our minds, our psychology, are part of this journey. So I think this is a valid way of beginning. Our motivation might seem rather self-centered at first, but just begin. I think if we do begin in that way and we're faithful to the practice, we then begin to understand the spiritual dimension of our own being, and the motivation for persevering in meditation becomes a spiritual one. We become more concerned about the spiritual fruits: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. These are more important than cholesterol. But get your cholesterol fixed first, and then allow these spiritual fruits to become more of your motivation. And as you reflect upon the changes that are taking place in you, spiritually, you're becoming a nicer person, a more loving person, a more peaceful person. You're finding joy within yourselves more than just by looking for pleasure outside. Your values are changing. The way you use your time is changing. The way you spend your money is changing. And then you begin to say, where's this change coming from? This is the Spirit of God. I am being divinized. In fact, that might sound a bit New Age to some of you. Actually, it's the refrain of the earliest Christian teachers. God became human so that human beings might become God. Well, we don't become God just like that. We become God through a process of evolution. We're in that process of divinization now at this very moment, if our minds and hearts and bodies are open to it. So we begin to be conscious as these spiritual fruits develop, this process of divinization is occurring. And then I think we could say that we also move to a third level of motivation. This is true, I think, of all religions, where we meditate with a very conscious and mature understanding of the meaning of our own religion. For me as a Christian, this means that my meditation becomes Christ-centered, very consciously and very deeply. And that my union with Christ on his journey to the Father becomes central to my practice of daily meditation. So I've got my cholesterol in shape. I begin to see that I'm becoming a slightly nicer person, or my ego is reducing a little bit anyway. And then I can begin to be conscious of the real mystery of Christ in my spiritual journey. Now, that will be a different experience for the Taoist or the Buddhist or the Jain or the Muslim. Nevertheless, the same process, same evolution is happening in all of us. Contemplation is a knowledge of the supreme mystery and of the ultimate meaning of life. But it's not a conceptual knowledge. This doesn't mean that it is anti-intellectual. Our minds, our intelligence are an important part of our journey as human beings. But as you see, I'm wearing glasses. I have two lenses in these glasses. I was reading once, I put on a pair of reading glasses, and I was given a shock because I suddenly could not focus on the page. It was just a big blur. And I thought, my gosh, something's happened to my eyes. They've really degenerated suddenly. I was quite anxious. So I put on more light. Still couldn't focus on the page. Moving the book closer to my face and further, still couldn't read it. And I thought, right, this is really serious. So I decided to clean my glasses. I took off my glasses and I cleaned one lens. Then I went to clean the other lens and it wasn't there. It's a great relief because I'd understood the problem. Then I had to find the other lens, and that wasn't so easy, and stick it back into the frame. Well, it's the same with our religious knowledge of God, or our human knowledge of God. We have two lenses, the mind and the heart. Technically, we call it the apophatic and the cataphatic. We can speak about God. We can say things about the ultimate mystery. But at the end of the day, we know that God is not what we think. As the Cloud of Unknowing says, we can never know God by thought, but only by love. And so we need these two lenses, these two approaches, words and silence. From the silence, we come back to the words as we exchange our views and our intuitions and our experience with each other in words, but then those words again have to be dropped as we go back into the silence. Contemplative knowledge arises, first of all, in this non-dualistic consciousness of the heart, in which we are not thinking about God or trying to know God as an object, but we are simply open to the presence. An idea, three central words of the Christian tradition: God is love. One of the most frequently quoted definitions of God in the Christian tradition. But they're only three monosyllables. And then one day, they may explode into meaning for you. And they are no longer an idea, but they express inadequately, but they express an experience, a personal knowledge, an insight. The existence of this kind of contemplative knowledge is largely ignored by education, by most forms of medicine, by science, by the institutions of business or politics. I think supreme work of religious people today is not just to develop their own particular denominations, but to share from their own contemplative wells this life-giving knowledge of contemplation with the world. And this knowledge is never far from us. It is close to us, closer to us than we are to ourselves, St. Augustine said. And it is not elusive. In a sense, in the Christian tradition, we say that God seeks us as well as we seeking God. Everything that I've been saying so far about the nature of contemplation can really be summed up in this one idea, that meditation is the work of love. Contemplation is the work of love. Because the knowledge we're speaking about is the knowledge that is love. And one of the signs that we are growing in this knowledge, one of the signs that actually we are changing, even if nothing seems to be happening in our meditation, but we are changing, is simply we are becoming more loving people. The Dalai Lama says, "My religion is kindness." And if religion doesn't make you a nicer person, then you're not practicing your religion properly. Angry, condemnatory, vicious or violent people who are like this in the name of their religion are denying their religion. We always encourage people to persevere with meditation. It's a discipline, it's a practice. And I will say, just keep going, and the fruits of meditation will begin to appear in your life. And the first of these fruits of the Spirit is love. So if after 20 years you find that you are not a more loving person, we will give you your money back. Well, actually, we haven't charged you anyway, so you don't get anything back. I think if we understand contemplation as this growing in the experience of love and the knowledge that is this love, it becomes easier for us to begin and to keep on beginning, to keep on the journey. The mind is always going to find new questions. The mind is always doubting. The mind is always examining and putting the other point of view or testing. So the mind is always asking new questions. But the heart, and meditation is the prayer of the heart is always finding new ways to love, new reasons to love, and new powers of love. Love is what we find at the heart of our being. It is the innate capacity of the human heart, and it is what makes us truly the image and likeness of God, who is love. And as this capacity for love is developed, as we experience ourselves both loved and becoming more loving, our perceptions are transformed. We change. We undergo a true conversion of heart. We become more free. And our religion is also transformed. Religion without this contemplative dimension becomes sterile. Even worse, it becomes negative or fundamentalist or an obstruction to human unity. But a religion that is open to this contemplative core experience of love becomes a force for the relief of suffering, for the expansion of wisdom, and for the celebration of our human unity.